This conference will now be recorded.
Well, thank you all for joining me today on January the 10th for our first virtual business networking meeting of this year. And we have a nice crowd. I will have to start with a public service announcement. Some of you were watching the game last night. The Steelers squeaked into the playoffs, which is why I'm wearing this shirt, even though it's a little bit outdated. Literally in the last 2 seconds of a game where what they needed was a no tie, which you think a tie is a relatively low probability in football. It's not like chess, but it was a nail biter that went down to the last 2 seconds and a field goal. So there you go. But the good news is the Steelers are in, so that's all that counts for now. All right. This meeting has three parts, as some of you that have been here before know. The first part is I will mute everybody and I will unmute people one at a time. So you can take a minute or two to introduce yourself, your name, your company, maybe where you are geographically, your product service, what a good referral for you would be, so everybody else can keep an eye out for you. The second part is usually the introductions trigger some follow-up questions. People are a little bit curious or want to learn more about what you do, so they'll ask those questions. And then the last part is, if there's time, which usually there is, I will open it up for general questions and answers, talk about the economy, talk about coronavirus, inflation, interest rates, anything that is business related. If you need referrals for anything, a lawyer, an accountant, a CPA, whatever, that's pretty much open discussion time. I see my friend Jerry getting on. I will try to have everybody out of here somewhere between 45 to 55 minutes after the hour, because I know everybody has these Zoom video chats now back to back. So I want to give you a chance to maybe get a drink of water before you have to go to the next one. So I hope all that sounds pretty good. By the way, we do have, and I won't steal his thunder, but we do have our guest speaker for our session 2 weeks from now here participating. So that's really nice. So everybody can meet him and he gets an idea for the meetings, and then we'll listen to him as our guest speaker for 2 weeks from now. And 4 weeks from now, we have a guest speaker that's an author, Cyprexa Papers, which Jennifer was kind enough to connect me. It's a very high level attorney out in Anchorage, Alaska. And you have some information about that in the email. So anyway, just to get rolling, and hi, Jerry. Let's see, very first on my list, and this is a veteran, so this is nice, is Jack Maitland. Oh, don't forget, please put your contact information, email, phone number, websites, whatever you want to share in the chat, because later tonight I will take whatever you put in the chat and send it to everybody. Conversely, if you don't want me to share it with everybody, please don't put it in the chat. Jack, if you want to introduce yourself, please.
I'm happy to. Thank you, Sal. Appreciate you spearheading this effort as always. Yeah, I'm Jack Maitland, originally from Pittsburgh, kind of up there in Sal's neck of the woods, and I think a few of you are from the Pittsburgh area. I currently live in South Florida, which is quite a difference weather-wise. 60 degrees down here is an Arctic freeze for us. It's a heat wave, I guess, for a lot of you around the country. But my background's advertising and marketing. I ran my own ad agency for the better part of 30 years, advertising, marketing, public relations. And I got involved with a kind of what I would call a Plan B a handful of years ago, and that Plan B became sort of a supplemental opportunity for me to diversify my income a little bit, and ultimately it became an exit strategy for me from the corporate world. I got introduced to a science-based manufacturing company out of the Pacific Northwest that has evolved after 36 years now into the largest private online wellness shopping club in North America. The company's called Melaleuca. I kind of hesitated to get into one of these meetup sessions, to be honest with you guys, because a lot of people throw it in the MLM bucket. It's not a distributor model. It's not an MLM culture. It's a I mean, it's a business with a tremendous track record. In fact, we are the first company in 75 years to break into the consumer product marketplace. And that is what I mean by that is we're now taking market share and sales from pretty powerfully entrenched competitors, companies like Procter and Gamble, Colgate, Palmolive, et cetera. And what we're looking for, what I look for basically are customers. I came in as a customer. It's like a Sam's Club, Costco, $19 a year membership, and you basically shop for products you're buying anyway. Over 400 products, everything but paper goods and refrigerator items. And once we fell in love with the products and found out there was an opportunity to help the company promote their brand, I chose to do that, and that became my exit strategy. So basically, I'm looking for people that want better, safer products in their home, with the understanding your family budget stays intact. And if you're open to maybe diversifying, looking for a plan B at some point, that's another discussion down the road. So thank you. I look forward to hearing from the rest of you, and happy 2022, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jack. And all those of us that live where it snows are jealous of you right now. Jennifer, if you would like to take a minute or two, please, to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Lau. I run Jen Lau Agency. It's my third company. My first company was Global Fundraising Consultants, and I troubleshoot and made deals all over the globe. Jen Lau Agency is like the daughter company. Global had to close with a transfer from South Florida for 25 years to West by God, West Virginia. I'm literally 15 minutes from the Pittsburgh airport. Currently, I'm still doing nonprofit, non-governmental organization consulting. But as I get older in retirement age, I got bored and I started dealing in global currency markets. I switched a little bit from the troubleshooting with the nonprofits to working more on the finance side. So basically, I like to make friends, I like to do referrals, and I like to present fibromyalgia awareness, because unfortunately sometimes I miss calls because of severe pain and medication issues, and then I have to apologize. But that's me. Feel free to call me pretty much anytime, and I like to help whoever I can.
Hey, Jennifer, real quick, why don't you mention, because I know you were the one that hooked me up, so I didn't want to steal your thunder, but Attorney Gottsteen, the author of the Cyprexa papers, that's going to be our guest speaker for 4 weeks from now. If you just want to just talk about that real briefly so everybody knows. I mean, I've been sending out on the emails, but still.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Jim Gottsteen is a Harvard attorney who had an episode of bipolar psychosis that he successfully overcame, and it got him interested in psychiatric survivorship and advocacy. And he ended up creating a nonprofit out of Alaska, and in his helping of people deemed mentally ill, he ended up with an amazing courtroom battle against Eli Lilly, the founder of the psych med Zyprexa. And I mean, it was $1 billion case. They got nasty. His life was threatened. I mean, he was almost imprisoned. I mean, it's one heck of a roller coaster of a story. So, it's Jim Gottsteen, Gottstein, and it's the Zyprexa papers. And I think it's available for like $15 on Amazon, or if you want the link for an autographed copy, I can hook you up. I'll put what I know off the top of my head in the chat.
All right. And again, I've been trying to share all the links and all the information in the emails. That reminds me, I think there's a couple of you that have not created a profile and have not subscribed to our group on Meetup. So please do that, because that's the basically the system that I use to to email out the periodic emails and information like about our guest speakers and so on and so forth. So to make sure you don't miss out on that, please, again, create a profile on LinkedIn, which is real simple, and subscribe to our group there so you get the periodic emails. All right, excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. And just going down my list here, hold on a second. Jerry, if you could please unmute yourself from your side and take a minute or two to introduce yourself.
Sure. Jerry Luco, ATD Business Consulting, and I have a DBA of Franchise Business Source. So where I spend most of my time is helping match aspiring and serial entrepreneurs / franchisees with perfect fit franchise businesses that get them lifestyle, freedom, money, supplemental income, whatever it is that they've been kind of dreaming that they want. A lot of people don't necessarily want to come up with the next great big idea. And a franchise gives you a playbook. It gives you an instant tribe of people that are there to support you. It has a system that has been proven to be successful. And it's a good way to go if you don't necessarily know what it is you want to do. One of the things I like about franchising is that you can have zero experience in something, and they want people with business acumen. You don't necessarily have to have healthcare experience or education experience or any of those other things in order to be able to get involved in a business in one of those industry categories. I do also, on a very small basis, work with a franchise development partner. And in those instances, often it's starting to evolve where I actually get involved in the franchise sales development as well, which is, very similar kind of work, but just from a slightly different perspective. I really enjoy doing that, and always like to meet new people that might be thinking about franchising the business. So if you have someone who maybe is part of that great resignation or was involuntarily resigned and still wants to be able to continue working, please send them my way. And if you have someone who has a business that is doing fantastic and they'd really like to expand and want to consider ways to expand, send them my way as well. And we can talk about maybe turning them into a franchise.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And let me see here as we move down. Oh, next on my list is John Pudner, who is also a guest of Jennifer's and a new face for us. So, John, thank you very much for joining us today. And same thing, I think you got the feel by now. If you take a minute or two to introduce yourself, please.
That'd be great. Everyone can hear me now? Just making sure I'm not muted. Okay, wonderful. No, thank you for having me. Certainly. Always great to connect with Jennifer. And I know if she tells me to do something, it's very worthwhile, as I can see this is. The thing that's a little confusing about us is if you just go to our website, Take Back Action Fund, most of the public coverage of us is always on our politics and our lobbying that we do. Now, like a lot of places, that's the sizzle, and our real work is usually on other things. So, yes, there's some Fox News interviews, New York Times interviews, elections we've won or laws we've changed through grassroots lobbying. So, of course, if someone has some government issue, that's fine too. But just to give you a case study of what we really do that doesn't make the news, I love the Pittsburgh connections because Giant Eagle was one of my big clients for over a decade. We were working with them, and during that run, they went from a $4 billion to $11 billion company. And our job was to expand them anywhere we could, set the groundwork, make sure there were no zoning issues, make sure if we had to overcome someone, if we had to beat candidates who were going to stop them for some reason, that was fine. But also, I'll just say we kept competitors out of their turf, that's why they had 52% of the market share. I know by the time we're done, which is unprecedented in the country, no other grocer has 52% of a footprint. So, we do that by often turning people out to hearings. revving people up, but there've been good business ramifications too, where if you can get people to do things and you know how to get them to go to websites and show up for meetings and anything else, there are usually customer applications for that as well. So anything like that, we need to move a lot of people, whether or not it's directly, there's a government issue, local or medium or anything. Of course, that's in the wheelhouse, but we'd love to do it. And the last thing I'll say, I wish if this were a couple years ago, I'd have lots of Pittsburgh connections, because not only were we still doing that, but I had a brother who's executive at Eaton Energy, but he just got transferred down to Charlotte a few months ago. And my other brother's actually senior counsel of the Pennsylvania Credit Union. He was he's general counsel, one of the top four there. He was senior counsel at PNC headquarters until a couple years ago, and the credit union hired him away, so he had to move to Harrisburg. But otherwise, he'd be in Steeler land too. So I used to have 2 condos I'd stay at in Pittsburgh, but no more. None of the same connection, Sal. Sorry.
Well, no, don't worry. And by the way, this was originally a live Pittsburgh meeting that we used to have in Pittsburgh and Canonsburg and Washington, PA, just outside of Pittsburgh. But through the magic of the internet, we've been expanding. I mean, now we have people from Columbus, from Indiana, from Ireland, from Florida. So still, we're probably overweighted in Pittsburgh, but we're expanding, which is really kind of very nice. So thank you, John. Let's see. Oh, another new face. Oops, and I did it the wrong way. Lars, kind of the same thing. If you could just take a minute or two to introduce yourself to the rest of the group, please.
Lars Vigman. I'm going to sort of just piggyback on what John said, because I work with John at Take Back Action Fund. And when people ask what it is we do, I kind of like to describe it as the new way of approaching public policy and lobbying. We sort of pitch our wares to very high net worth individuals, a lot of venture capitalists, and then also other organizations and foundations. And we've sort of put the bang in the buck into lobbying and grassroots operations. And a great example of what everybody sees recently is all these nonprofits and all this massive amount of money has descended upon West Virginia in the last year, because, as everyone knows, and many folks in business, in the energy sector and everything else, they know that maybe there's one U.S. senator that can make or break them. So that's a great example of the field of work we're in. There will be donors that come to us and say, look, I don't want to hire a traditional law firm or lobbying firm. I want to hire guys that just actually get on the ground and do the nitty-gritty work of moving public opinion, direct lobbying of legislature, digital marketing, advertising. We're sort of a one-stop shop that just happens to be in the nonprofit world. So we're kind of the new way that big donors like to handle their public policy fights, because they're like anybody in business, they just don't want to waste their money. So that's kind of a wrap up. I'm the national field director. John's the president of our organization. So I move to different states and work these projects. And I'm in South Carolina.
Okay, excellent. Well, I have a couple questions for you, but we'll wait till we get through all the introductions and open it up. And I suspect I might not be the only one with questions for you, but we'll go one step at a time. Matthew, who, by the way, is our guest speaker in 2 weeks from now, if you want to introduce yourself and maybe even give a little bit of a tease about your upcoming presentation as guest speaker.
Sure. Thank you very much. Just a little bit about me. I'm from Toronto, Canada, and I recently got in touch with Sal. My background is creating custom boutique software. I've had some clients that have been some celebrities, and various firms have made software for delivering of live streams, various apps, boutique software for real estate industry to organize, a million records for some large real estate firms. And then the pandemic came around, and I created a company called Be Human, and it's a virtual networking platform that's somewhat comparable to other platforms that you may have seen. Basically, we provide high quality live streams, virtual roundtables where everybody can have a profile and kind of jump from table to table and meet other attendees. It's a very scalable platform. We've designed it to host up to 100,000 attendees in one event. So for very, very large conferences, features like virtual exhibitor booths where you can kind of go to a booth and talk with the vendors on the table, meet other attendees, have private video calls, exchange chats and private videos and portfolios. So that's what I do, and I'm happy to meet all of you guys here.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. And let's see, moving right down the list. Oh, Paolo, also known as Paul, and one of my favorite persons in Pittsburgh. If you want to introduce yourself and feel free to mention, I know you're doing a virtual networking event on Tuesday. Feel free to plug that too, and especially
Sure,
your guest speaker.
absolutely. Very excited about my guest speaker, and I'll talk about that very, very shortly here. Thanks, Sal, and great to see everyone again. Happy New Year to everyone, and great to see new faces on the call. It's pretty invigorating to be back on this call. So, again, my name is Paolo Gottsteen, or Paul. You can call me Paul. It's fine. And I am located just outside of Pittsburgh, pretty close to the Pittsburgh airport. So I think Jennifer and I are, sounds like we're neighbors, just about. And I am the owner of Equitas Funding Group. We are a real estate investment firm, and we buy, renovate, and rent residential and commercial real estate. What makes us different is that we're able to take a consultative approach when working with property owners, which allows us to structure a sale that really does meet the needs of all parties involved. So no matter what the situation is, whether it's whether you need to structure a deal to minimize capital gains exposure or state taxes, or if there's a problem with the property, we're able to structure it in such a way that will maximize the price and value that a seller is able to get from a property. We do that a few different ways. One, we do work with private investors who are looking for alternative investments that are backed by hard real estate assets. And we also try to work with local community groups and municipalities to understand what their needs are and see if there's something we could do to help work on blighted and abandoned properties, or help them, or help support them in their whatever their strategic plans are for the upcoming years. Also, as Sal alluded to, I am also a member of the Pittsburgh Real Estate Investors Association here in Pittsburgh, and we have many different subgroups, and I lead our commercial real estate subgroup, which is probably the largest networking commercial real estate group in the area. We meet on, I don't know if I want to plug my meeting, but we meet once a month on the second Tuesday of the month, and actually. To kick off this year, I've talked to Jerry, talked to Sal, talked to a couple other individuals. I'm always looking to introduce different investment opportunities for the members of our group. Like I said, we mostly either have, from a high level, either real estate investors who are actually buying properties directly, or who are small business owners themselves. So I'm always looking to introduce new asset classes to the group, and I want to really in the first quarter of this year, so really focus on as I'm calling it, a small business corner, where we're talking about for individuals who are concerned about paying premium prices for multifamily properties, for example. Maybe there's other alternative investments, and where you can partner with operators, owner operators of different businesses or franchises, or just trying to help the group understand the landscape of small business investment opportunities, And then also, like I said, I'm always, even if there's something that I can't through my company help you directly, I would absolutely love to to introduce you to whatever you need in your business, whether it's an investor or a supplier or a partner in any way, doesn't benefit me. I'm just here really to help facilitate um, 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 all the goals of our any goals that our members have, and so we try to really take actionable steps to accomplish all of our goals, and I would love to help facilitate that. And I also love talking about real estate in general. So if anyone wants to talk about any of that related to Pittsburgh or not, I would absolutely welcome a conversation about that. So thank you again. Great to see everyone. Happy New Year again, and looking forward to the rest of this meeting. Thank you.
All right, perfect, excellent. And let's see, just keep going down my list here. We have one of my favorite guests because he always joins us right from Ireland. And if you haven't been there, I will tell you, I don't work for their economic development, but you have to go to Ireland. Patrick, if you want to take a minute or two to introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everybody, and a happy new year and a prosperous one. I'm learning more from Paolo about property than I ever could read anywhere, I think. He has an enthusiasm, and the expertise on this call is just amazing. If you only got a bit of it, you'd be a genius. But the question is, what do we do to make ourselves healthier? That's the big question for 2022. And the reason I ask this is because now science is discovering and defining the relationship between impaired cellular signaling and disease conditions. And understanding this concept is fundamental. It is way, way different to disease management. How well cells deal with oxidative stress and inflammation is a function of their healthier signaling and powerfully impacting 5 areas of health: immune function, inflammatory response, cardiovascular health, digestive health, and hormone balance. Every second of every day, our cells are passing tremendous amounts of information throughout the body, and any breakdown in that signaling and communication, we cannot be fully healthy. For example, we receive a signal when we're feeling hot or cold or tired or hungry, or we injure ourselves. We're stressed out. We go to the bathroom in the middle of the day or the middle of the night. That's a really good one, the middle of the night. That's a definite signal, a definitely good signal. So the discovery of redox signaling is one of the most important breakthroughs of our lifetime. And the difference it is making in most people's lives is absolutely astonishing. For many people, this is now the missing link for better health and vitality. Independently validated, 100% non-toxic, enabling us to have a real advantage. You and those you know deserve to know about this breakthrough, particularly those with a health challenge, people who are health conscious, or those interested in generating an additional income stream now in 33 countries, opening up tremendous financial opportunity. This may not be for you, but who do you know? Who springs to mind? Reach out and discover the next level of fulfillment. My thanks to you all for enabling me to understand what you are doing and the gift of your attention. My details are in the chat.
All right, perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Patrick. And let's see. Last but not least is from Indianapolis, Indiana, Rhoda, who actually has a service that I think almost everybody here can use. So that's always very exciting for me, and something that, quite frankly, we should do and don't do. But anyway, Rhoda, go ahead.
Hi, everyone, from Indianapolis, Indiana, where it is very cold. And despite my vote against it, winter has arrived here. My company is called Say It For You. And for the past 14 years, my team of writers and I have been creating what you've been reading when you go on our clients' websites. So we are ghost bloggers and ghost creators of content. And today I was thinking that there's a particular use of content that can be very, very useful in any one of your fields. And that is putting perspective on a news item. So for example, I write a blog for a personal injury attorney. And in the Indianapolis Star, there was unfortunately a terrible story about a church that covered up child abuse, child sexual abuse that had been going on in the church. And because the perpetrator was himself a minor, and also because the perpetrator was related to the pastor, this was covered up for 2 years and nothing was done. So I repeated the story and linked to the newspaper story, but more importantly, I explained why it was important for people to pay attention to that story, and legally how they were required to report any suspicion of child neglect or abuse, but also the fact why a personal injury attorney is so passionate about this, because children who have been abused need lifelong care often. Just as Jennifer was talking earlier about people who have gone through trauma needing lifelong care. And the insurance payout is rarely enough to cover all the psychological help that these children are going to need. So in other words, what I have done is take an actual story that anyone can read in the news or on their phone or hear on the news and tell them why they need to care about it. You can look for news in your field, and of course, you know, John, you would do that all the time. But in any business situation, you can read the news and find some point that means why your readers need to care about that. So that's the kind of thing that we try to do with our content, is make people care. It's not just another piece of content. It's not advertising. It's telling them how you can help them care and do something about things. So that's what we do. We say it for you.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay, everybody's unmuted from my side. Don't forget to put your contact information into the chat. Have any of the introductions triggered any questions from anybody to anybody? I have a couple, but if somebody else, I would love it for somebody else to go first. So any questions, comments based on the introductions? Rhoda.
Okay, so first I have a catch-up thing for Paolo. Did you ever get a scheduled date for speaking?
I saw there are a few available dates in February, but I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you about that outside of this meeting.
Yeah, that needs to happen soon. Jerry, please call me after this meeting. But I do have a question for John and his colleague. Tell me to what extent what you do is party related as opposed to just nation related.
So the old history was party related. So we actually ran Republican campaigns until 2014 and then made the choice to break away from that. So we are, not to get in IRS terms, we're 501c4, which means we cannot actually advocate for a party or endorse candidates. We can say good things about candidates. We're allowed to say, I think this candidate's enacting great policy, or this one's bad policy, but you know, we cannot endorse a party. We can't formally endorse a candidate. And that was a specific break I made. Kind of my first Fox News was I'd beaten a guy, Eric Cantor, was the majority leader in Congress and in a Republican primary. A lot of Republicans were mad at me because he was going around the whole country raising money for Republicans. So I was getting all these threats. Well, you'll never work in Republican politics again. You know, and he had $5 million and we had $20,000. So it wasn't a very fair fight, but we beat him. But so I purposely made that break. So we're definitely more conservative angled, but we're known for kind of reaching out. We think there's a good solution, a way to do voting differently. You know, sometimes I'll be the one conservative panelist in a room of, you know, 8 who would generally consider themselves liberal, and we'll be agreeing, you know, on an issue that we're promoting. So we are kind of across the aisle, I'd say. But that was the old history through 2014. I would have given you a different a different answer through 2014. We were
John, can you just speak briefly about, I'm a statistician too, so can you tell them a little bit about your statistician and what is it called, gerrymandering or voter redistricting? I love that story.
Oh gosh, I'm just, you know, everyone always laughs at me because I was always punching like precinct numbers to target how many voters need to turn out. And then I say, hey, you need a break. I say, oh, actually, no, I'm having fun now. Now I'm crunching my basketball stats, which look like the same thing to anyone looking at the spreadsheet on my screen. But no, I'm a complete stat nerd. I actually got written up in Sports Illustrated and Fox Sports for my ranking of college basketball players, believe it or not. I'm just very analytical on exactly how valuable is each of the 4,000 players out there. I mean, I still stuff like that. But no, when you get into the math and the redistricting, what Jennifer's talking about, just all these old tricks for, what's fair redistricting. Like I think Ohio just made a lot fairer a couple years ago, but what's your criteria? I mean, just the way you can now with numbers. I've been through a few redistricting, you can really get what you want. And it's the old is the person picking the elected officials, the elected official just picking their people, that old saying, because the numbers are so good now. And the funny thing that Jennifer is referring to is, of course, like our opponent Cantor made his district so Republican that he could never lose. So we just beat him in a primary, So sometimes these guys outthink themselves. But any of you work with data, any of your businesses just know, I mean, compare it to what you were doing 10 or 20 years ago, where we might, during Bush 2000, I mean, we knew three things about people: how they care about guns, abortion, and taxes. And that was it. And now, these kids, it's 800 determining factors on which one you're going to target them on. So it's like everything. It's a data world now. If you can do the modern data number crunching, but not lose the old school. I was talking to a business guy, billionaire now, started knocking on doors. See, I always tell people, you have to knock on doors and do your digital targeting. It's not one or the other. It's not old school's wrong or new school's wrong. There's just different ways to reach people that apply to any kind of marketing, not just campaigns and lobbying.
Hey, John, let me ask you a question, kind of going back to something you just said real quick. In terms of you getting clients as a business, I would imagine that because maybe you set yourself out into certain positions, pro-gun, anti-gun, pro-abortion, anti-abortion, pro-low taxes, whatever, that if somebody came to you looking for help, but they wanted to push the opposite position, I mean, do you just turn away that client, or what do you do?
Well, the nice thing is I use that as an example from a presidential campaign, but we wouldn't really be doing any of those issues. I mean, those are more just pure political. We, for example, would like some adjustments in how people can vote. There's this Final Four proposal we have where you end up with 4 candidates on the final ballot. It might be 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, maybe a Libertarian, a Green Party, and you do rank them. So it's kind of a scaled down ranked choice, not like New York where you have 13 candidates. That was kind of a disaster last year. But so we're more pushing systems, things like that. We wouldn't really be in like an abortion fight right now. Now, we might be in a tax fight. There definitely are business people, who would have a real interest in a particular tax fight. Or I'll give you an example, a big one on that. We had a governor who tried to change the tax structure in one state, and he was giving the power company what amounted to $180 million a year tax cut. But it was going to result in farmers paying about 30 million more, banks paying 20 million more. And so we fought that. I mean, it was upping taxes for some, lowering for other. And we thought it was just paying off his donors. So that's where tax we might get into, but we wouldn't be in a guns or abortion fight or something. That was back from pure political days when you're just talking about turning out voters for an election.
Okay. Sal, Rhoda, this probably answers your question some more too. Is we find that we're sort of that there are certain big donors out there that are at the end of their rope, and they don't want to walk away from the process, but they're just so frustrated with it. They've seen no bang for their buck just trading in this political office holder for that one, and it does no good to trade candidates or office holders. The system stays the same. So just generally speaking, our approach is, well, why don't you invest your time and money into the ways you want to see the system change? And so we approach it a little bit more globally than that, even though I also come from the hard knock campaign world where, it was like win at all costs for the guy that hires you. And now, we're going into states and just, looking at just fixing ways, just fixing their overall system of either voting, generally voting or not so much redistricting anymore, but it all comes down to just making the average citizen heard more effectively in general terms.
Amen.
John. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Can I interject something? Lars, did you want to talk about, I know you have your own company. Did you want to speak about that for a couple minutes?
Well, I guess technically I work as an independent contractor with Take Back Action Fund, but I'm essentially
So you're busy.
I'm essentially I'm all in full time with Take Back Action Fund.
We don't have any IRS agents on this call, do we? That's who I'm trying to avoid, is IRS agents.
Patrick, did you want to say something?
How you doing? It's great to be in the company of two statisticians. And I was just thinking there, John, if I landed in from Mars and I resided in Pittsburgh, and I was trying to decide who to vote for, would it be Republican or Democrat? And I'm now kind of confused. So, and all I want is people to have a positive perspective for the future. What should I do?
Well, you'd be landing in Moon Township, so that would be coming from ours. Pretty good. Just that's where the airport is for those of you who aren't in Pittsburgh. So, we fought a zoning battle there too. That's the only reason that's in my mind. No, it's tough, and without directly answering, I'll tell you, we have this group Represent Us, which is on some of the same issues, but definitely very far left. I mean, everyone in their office, and I went to their office once with 30-some people in Massachusetts, and their president announces me to everyone. Everyone, our good friend John Pudner runs Take Back Action Fund, and round of applause. Happened to be my birthday, so they all clap, sing happy birthday. And then John really fights for this issue with us, this issue, great. And then he pulls me back in his room and just starts cursing me out. You GD effing bugger, how the hell can you defend that bastard Trump? And just screams at me for 10 minutes with no one else listening. And then we walk back out and says, again, everyone, an ovation for our friend John Pudner. So just can't even talk to people civilly. I mean, that's what the problem with the system now is. Just, it's an instant fight. You can't have family gatherings. And that's where these stats and the algorithms are so bad, as we know. I mean, not just Facebook, but everything is geared toward firing up anyone who's predisposed to be angry about, certain political issues, so that it seeps into, Thanksgiving get-togethers over here. So I don't know if Ireland's the same.
Sal, before you end, you forgot to give your introduction.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Thank you very much. And you're right, because I always get so excited. I forget the introduction. So I am a business broker. I help people buy and sell businesses. Since they come in all shapes and sizes, just to give you some numbers around that, nothing is written in stone, but on the low side, maybe a business that has as few as 10 employees. On the high side, maybe all the way up to 250 employees. From a revenue perspective, anywhere from zero all the way up to a maximum of maybe 10 or $20 million for the year in revenue. And for net positive cash flow, hopefully somewhere between at least break even to about $1 million or $2 million for the year. The one thing that has changed from when I started doing this about 10 years ago is now, because of the magic of the internet, and unfortunately because coronavirus has forced us all to learn to work online and use the tools and use the video chat, I'm doing business all over the country. I was talking just earlier today to Jerry, on a client that we work together, both of us. And again, she's out in California that's now looking to sell a business. So, if you or anybody wants to buy or sell a business, please let me know. Regardless of where they are in the country, we can help them. And let's see how we're doing for time. Oh, we're banging up almost against 2:50 here on the East Coast. One or two last questions or comments from anybody to anybody.
But Sal, your book highlights buying and selling a business in any part of the world, not just America. I read it.
That's true. The general concepts and the negotiations and the sources of value can come from anywhere in the world. That's absolutely true. I mean, you have some legal issues, maybe how you
Yeah,
structure the
yeah,
deal
yeah, yeah.
and things like that, but certainly 80-90% of it is business.
Patrick, I'm going to tell you a secret. Sal
Yeah.
was the global manufacturing manager for a few brand name companies.
Well
That's
done,
true.
Sal.
I've had the opportunity to travel more than my fair share and see people all over the world more than my fair share. So that's true. Business is business and people is people. So
And business is there to solve problems.
absolutely. Okay, guys. One last question. One last comment. Anybody to anybody? Rhoda.
Matt, can you tell us more about how your network works, the Being Human?
Yes, I'd love to. It's a platform that's designed to deliver very friendly and unique virtual events. So abstractly, kind of like what we're experiencing here on GoToMeeting, but on a much larger scale. So if you imagine you are a company that has, let's say, 1,000 employees or more, 20,000 employees, and you want to, and they're all distributed, and people are working from home these days, and you want to bring them together in a fun way, you can have them all log into the platform. They can experience a high quality, polished live stream from a keynote speaker perhaps, and there could be multiple scheduled events throughout the day. And then at the same time, there are virtual roundtables where you can kind of see who is sitting at each table and then jump from table to table and then be on videos just like we are here with whoever is sitting on that table, one other person or 24 other people. Each person has a portfolio. You can click on somebody's picture and see their resume or like their PDF that they may have uploaded for their account, their LinkedIn account. There's a private chat. There are private video groups as well. You can attend an event like a live stream at the same, sorry, my cell phone was ringing, at the same time with other people. So for example, if you're attending a large company event, you could be on video with your small team, like maybe your 6 people that you work with, and their videos would be with you. And at the same time, you would be experiencing a keynote speaker. So you could talk amongst yourselves while watching a live stream. I gained this experience over the last 10 years creating specialized software to deliver high-scale events for some celebrities, including the book author Eckhart Tolle. If anybody is familiar, I delivered all of the technology solutions for Eckhart Tolle from 2008 through 2020. So all of the live streams, all of his website that you may have seen, if you have, was created by myself and my team. So I just felt like,
real quick.
Yeah.
Eckhart wrote The Power of Now.
Yes, that's correct.
And he wrote The New Earth. He was a bestseller. He was an Oprah's choice. I mean, that's a really big client.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. I mean, I only met him in person one time. Most of my work was behind the scenes. But yeah, I created all of the technology that they used for about 11 years. All of the website, all of the live streams, we delivered live streams to tens of thousands. I mean, at one event, tens of thousands of people, but millions of people experienced the software that I created. And yeah, I applied that to create Be Human, which is a new product that we just launched and looking to help people out in the pandemic.
Okay, excellent. Well, just to repeat, he's going to be our guest speaker 2 weeks from today in our next meeting, and I know he's planning to do some demos. So if you want to see the demos, please come to the next meeting in 2 weeks because we'll see a little bit of a demo. And then 2 weeks after that, again, is Attorney Gottsteen in Alaska and the Cyprexa papers. So we're going to leave it here. We're just coming up again to 2:55. Thank you all for joining me. It's been a very fun session. I will share the video. I will share the information in the chat. And I hope I can see all of you guys again in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, all.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.